When Michael Jordan opened a mysterious letter with no return address, his hand started shaking. The name written on it made his heart stop. Vanessa Chen. He hadn't heard that name in over 30 years. Inside was a simple message. Meet me at Riverside Park, by the old oak tree, Saturday at 3 p.m. There's something I need to ask you. Something I've waited 30 years to ask. Michael Jordan. 6 championship rings. The greatest basketball player who ever lived. A man who never backed down from any challenge. But this letter terrified him more than any game ever did. Because Vanessa wasn't just anyone. She was his first real love. The girl who saw him before the world knew his name. The girl he loved when he was just 17 years old with big dreams and an even bigger fear of failure. And 30 years ago, on a warm summer night under that same oak tree, Michael made a choice that broke both their hearts. He chose basketball over love. He let her walk away crying into the darkness, and he never saw her again. Until now. What could she possibly want to ask him after all these years? And why, after 3 decades of silence, does the thought of facing her fill him with more fear than any championship game? Michael Jordan is about to face the one question he's been running from his entire life. A question about the choice he made. A question he still doesn't know how to answer. What is that question? And how will the greatest basketball player of all time respond when he finally comes face to face with the woman he never stopped thinking about? Watch the whole video to find out what happens when Michael Jordan meets his first love after 30 years and discovers the one question he still can't answer. This is a story about love, regret, and second chances. A story that proves even legends have hearts that can break. Let's begin. Michael Jordan sat in his private office on the top floor of the Hornets Arena in Charlotte. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sparkled in the late afternoon sun. Inside, the walls were covered with memories. 6 championship rings in a glass case, photographs of impossible shots, magazine covers from a life lived in the spotlight. But Michael wasn't looking at any of that. He was staring at his computer screen, pretending to read emails about the team's upcoming season. His mind was somewhere else, like it often was these days. At 60 years old, he had everything a man could want. Money, fame, respect, legacy. So why did he feel like something was missing? A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," Michael called. His assistant, Patricia, stepped through the door holding a small cream-colored envelope. She had worked for him for 15 years and knew his schedule better than he did. But right now, she looked uncomfortable. "This just came for you," she said, placing the envelope on his mahogany desk. It was hand-delivered. No return address. Just your name. Michael glanced at the envelope. His name was written in elegant cursive handwriting, the kind nobody used anymore. Something about it made his chest tighten. "Thank you, Patricia," he said quietly. She nodded and left, closing the door behind her. Michael picked up the envelope slowly. The paper felt expensive, smooth between his fingers. He turned it over and saw a single word written on the back flap in that same beautiful handwriting. Vanessa. His heart stopped. Vanessa Chen. He hadn't heard that name spoken aloud in over 30 years. But he'd thought about it. Oh, how he'd thought about it. In quiet moments. In the middle of the night. During championship celebrations, when he should have been happy but felt strangely hollow. His hands trembled as he opened the envelope. Inside was a single piece of matching cream paper. The message was short. "I'll be at Riverside Park, by the old oak tree, Saturday at 3 p.m. There's something I need to ask you. Something I've waited 30 years to ask. V." Michael read it 3 times, then 4. The words blurred as memories crashed over him like ocean waves. Vanessa Chen, the girl with paint-stained fingers and gentle eyes. The girl who saw him before the world knew his name. The girl he loved when he was just a 17-year-old kid with big dreams and a bigger fear of failure. The girl he walked away from. He stood up and moved to the window, still holding the letter. Somewhere out there was Riverside Park in Wilmington, North Carolina, 2 hours away. The old oak tree was probably still standing. That tree had witnessed everything. Their first kiss, their whispered promises, their last goodbye. Michael closed his eyes, and suddenly he was 17 again, standing under that tree on a warm summer night. Vanessa was walking away from him, her shoulders shaking with tears. He wanted to run after her. He wanted to take it all back, but his feet wouldn't move. Basketball was calling him. The University of North Carolina was waiting. His destiny couldn't be stopped. So he let her go, and he never saw her again. Until now. Michael opened his eyes and looked at the letter one more time. Something I've waited 30 years to ask. What could she possibly want to ask him after all these years? Why now? And why did the thought of seeing her again fill him with more fear than any championship game ever had? Saturday was 2 days away. Michael Jordan had faced the greatest players in the world. He'd hit impossible shots with millions watching. He'd never backed down from any challenge. But this letter terrified him, because deep down, he knew exactly what Vanessa was going to ask, and he still didn't know how to answer. Summer of 1984. 17-year-old Michael Jordan pushed open the heavy wooden doors of Laney High School's library. It was the last place he wanted to be on a beautiful June afternoon. The basketball court was calling him. His friends were probably already shooting hoops at the park. But his mother had been clear. No summer basketball camp unless your grades improve. That means summer reading, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. He sighed and walked between the tall shelves of books. The library was almost empty. Most kids were outside enjoying freedom. The air conditioning hummed softly, and dust particles danced in the sunlight streaming through the windows. That's when he saw her. She sat alone at a corner table, completely absorbed in whatever she was drawing. Her long black hair fell across her face like a curtain. Paint stains covered her fingers, blues and reds and yellows. She held a pencil like it was made of magic, moving it across the paper with careful strokes. Michael had seen her around school before. Vanessa Chen, the quiet art girl. She never came to basketball games, never hung out with the popular crowd. She lived in her own world of colors and canvases. He didn't know why, but his feet carried him toward her table. "That's really good," he said, looking over her shoulder. Vanessa jumped, dropping her pencil. It rolled across the table. Her cheeks flushed red. "Sorry," Michael said quickly, grabbing the pencil and handing it back to her. "I didn't mean to scare you." She took the pencil without looking at him. "It's okay." Up close, she was prettier than he'd realized. She had kind eyes and a small smile that seemed shy but genuine. She wore a white t-shirt with paint splatters and simple jeans. No makeup, no jewelry, just real. "What are you drawing?" Michael asked. Vanessa hesitated, then turned her sketchbook toward him. It was a drawing of the library, but not as it really was. In her version, the bookshelves grew like trees, their pages becoming leaves. Students sat among the branches, reading stories that floated around them like butterflies. "Wow," Michael breathed. "That's incredible." "It's just something I imagined," Vanessa said softly. "Places we go when we read. Other worlds." Michael sat down across from her without asking. Usually, girls wanted to talk to him about basketball, about the championship game, about his dunks. But Vanessa was looking at him like he was just another person. It was refreshing. "I'm Michael," he said. "I know who you are," Vanessa replied. "The whole school knows who you are." "And you're Vanessa." Her eyebrows raised slightly. "How do you know my name?" "I pay attention," Michael said, surprising himself with his honesty. They talked for an hour. Then 2. Michael forgot about his required reading list. He forgot about basketball practice. They talked about everything. Her art, his dreams, their families, their fears about the future. Vanessa told him she wanted to go to art school somewhere far away, somewhere she could disappear into her work. Michael told her he was afraid basketball was all he had, that if he failed at it, he'd be nothing. "That's not true," Vanessa said firmly. It was the first time her voice had risen above a whisper. "You're not just what you can do, Michael. You're who you are, and that's enough." Nobody had ever said anything like that to him before. When the librarian announced closing time, Michael realized the sun was setting. Hours had vanished like minutes. "Can I walk you home?" he asked. Vanessa smiled. A real smile this time, bright and beautiful. "Okay." They walked through Wilmington's warm streets as fireflies began to blink in the twilight. Michael carried her art bag. She told him about her favorite painters. He listened like her words were the most important things in the world. At her front porch, Vanessa turned to face him. "Thank you for talking to me today," she said. "Most people don't really see me." "I see you," Michael said. And he meant it. That night, lying in his bed, Michael couldn't stop thinking about paint-stained fingers and shy smiles, and a girl who made him feel like himself instead of just a basketball player. The next day, he went back to the library. Vanessa was there, drawing at the same corner table. When she saw him, her face lit up like sunrise. "Hi," she said. "Hi," he replied. And just like that, everything changed. They spent the entire summer together. Michael would finish basketball practice and meet Vanessa at their favorite spots around Wilmington. She'd sketch while he talked about his day. He'd watch her paint while she explained why certain colors made her feel certain emotions. They went to Murphy's Diner every Friday night and split a chocolate milkshake with 2 straws. They sat by the Cape Fear River and made up stories about where the boats were going. They snuck into the old movie theater through the back door and held hands in the darkness. Michael taught Vanessa how to shoot a basketball. She taught him how to really see a sunset, not just look at it, but see all the colors hiding inside it. One night in late July, they lay on a blanket in Riverside Park, staring up at the stars. The old oak tree stood guard over them like a protective giant. "What are you most afraid of?" Vanessa asked. Michael thought for a long moment. "Failing. Letting everyone down. Being forgotten." "You could never be forgotten," Vanessa said. She rolled onto her side to face him. "You're going to do amazing things, Michael Jordan. I can feel it." "What about you?" he asked. "What are you afraid of?" "Losing this," Vanessa whispered. "Losing you. Having this summer end and everything going back to the way it was before." Michael took her hand, their fingers intertwined perfectly. "That's not going to happen. I promise." "You can't promise that," Vanessa said sadly. "Everything changes. You're going to be famous someday. You're going to leave Wilmington far behind. Then you'll come with me," Michael said. "We'll go together." Vanessa smiled, but her eyes looked worried. "What if we can't? What if life pulls us in different directions?" "It won't," Michael said, with all the confidence of a 17-year-old who believed love could conquer anything. "Nothing's going to separate us, Vanessa. I promise you that." He kissed her under the stars, under the old oak tree, believing with his whole heart that some promises could never be broken. But summer couldn't last forever, and some promises are harder to keep than others. August 1985. 1 year had passed since that perfect summer. Michael and Vanessa were inseparable. Everyone in Wilmington knew them as a couple, the basketball star and the quiet artist. Fire and water, ambition and peace. Michael's senior year had been incredible. He led his team to the state championship. College scouts filled the bleachers at every game. His name was in newspapers. His future was shining bright. But Vanessa never came to the games. Not because she didn't support him. She just couldn't stand the crowds, the noise, the way people screamed and pushed. So she waited for him after every game, standing by her car with a thermos of hot chocolate and a smile that made every victory feel complete. "You were amazing," she'd say, even though she hadn't watched. "How do you know?" Michael would laugh. "Because you always are," she'd reply. Now it was late August. The summer heat was thick and heavy. Michael sat on his bed, holding 2 letters. His hands were shaking. The first letter was from the University of North Carolina, a full basketball scholarship. Coach Dean Smith himself had called his house. This was the dream. This was everything he'd worked for since he was 10 years old. The second letter was addressed to Vanessa. He'd found it on his porch that morning. Her handwriting on the envelope made his stomach hurt. He opened it slowly. Dear Michael, I got accepted to the California Institute of Arts. Full scholarship. They want me to start in September. It's everything I've dreamed about. But it's so far away. We need to talk. Meet me tonight at our tree, 8 p.m. Love, V. Michael read it 5 times. California, 3,000 miles away, while he'd be in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, only 2 hours from home, 3,000 miles. He looked at his basketball trophies lined up on his shelf, then at the drawings Vanessa had made of him, dozens of them, covering his walls, his face from every angle, his hands, his smile. She saw him in ways nobody else did. How could they do this? How could they be together? That night, Michael drove to Riverside Park with his heart pounding. The old oak tree stood silhouetted against the darkening sky. Vanessa was already there, sitting on their bench, wearing the blue sundress he loved. Hi, she said quietly when he sat down beside her. Hi, he replied. For a long moment, they just sat there. The air smelled like honeysuckle and approaching rain. Crickets sang in the grass. Everything felt too beautiful and too sad at the same time. California, Michael finally said. North Carolina, Vanessa replied. I know. Vanessa turned to face him. Her eyes were already wet with tears she was trying to hold back. I'm so proud of you, Michael. UNC is perfect for you. Coach Smith is a legend. You're going to become everything you're meant to be. And you're going to become an amazing artist, Michael said. His throat felt tight. CalArts is the best school in the country for art. So we're both getting what we wanted, Vanessa said. Yeah. Then why does it feel so terrible? Michael took her hands in his. They were still paint-stained. Always paint-stained. He loved that about her. Maybe we can make it work, long distance. I'll call you every day. We can visit during breaks. Vanessa shook her head slowly. Michael, be honest. You're about to become a star. Really famous. Your life is going to be practices and games and travel and pressure. And I'm going to be buried in my studio, painting until 3 in the morning, living in a completely different world. So what are you saying? Michael asked, even though he knew. Deep down, he knew. I'm saying we should be realistic, Vanessa said. Tears were flowing freely now. I'm saying maybe we need to let each other go, so we can chase our dreams without holding each other back. You don't hold me back, Michael said desperately. You never have. And you don't hold me back either, Vanessa said. But maybe we would. Eventually. Maybe we'd start to resent each other. Maybe I'd hate that you're never there. Maybe you'd hate that I don't understand your world. Michael stood up, pacing. This is crazy, Vanessa. We love each other. People make long-distance work all the time. Do they? Vanessa asked. Really? Or do they just drag out the inevitable and make it hurt worse? Michael stopped pacing. He looked at her sitting there on their bench, under their tree, in the spot where they'd shared so many perfect moments. And he realized she was right. He couldn't promise her he'd call every day, not with his schedule. He couldn't promise visits, not during basketball season. He couldn't promise anything except that his dream was pulling him one direction, while hers pulled her another. Vanessa stood up and walked to him. She put her hands on his chest, right over his heart. I need to ask you something, she said softly. And I need you to be completely honest. No matter what. Okay, Michael whispered. Vanessa looked up at him. The moonlight caught her tears, making them shine like diamonds. If you had to choose between basketball and me, what would you choose? The world stopped. Michael opened his mouth, but no words came out. His mind raced. How could she ask him that? How could he answer? If he said basketball, he was a terrible person. If he said her, he'd be lying. Because basketball was his entire life, his identity, his purpose. Without it, who was he? But if he admitted that, if he told the truth, he'd break her heart. The silence stretched on. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20. Vanessa's face crumpled. She had her answer. "That's what I thought," she whispered. "Vanessa, wait," Michael started, but she stepped back. "It's okay," she said, wiping her eyes. "It's okay, Michael. I understand. I do. Basketball is your dream. It's who you are. I would never ask you to give that up. Never." "Then why did you ask?" Michael's voice cracked. "Because I needed to know," Vanessa said. "I needed to know if I was fooling myself, if I was just a summer romance or something real." "You're real," Michael said desperately. "You're so real, Vanessa. I love you." "I know you do," she said. "And I love you. But love isn't always enough, is it?" She picked up her bag from the bench. She pulled out her sketchbook, the one she carried everywhere, and handed it to him. "What's this?" Michael asked. "Open it when you get home," she said. It's my heart. Everything I couldn't say out loud." Michael took the sketchbook with trembling hands. "Vanessa, please, can we just talk about this more? There has to be a way." "There isn't," she interrupted. Her voice was firm now, even through the tears. "And dragging this out will just make it harder. You need to go to Chapel Hill and become Michael Jordan the legend. And I need to go to California and find out who Vanessa Chen really is." She stood on her tiptoes and kissed him. It was soft and sweet and tasted like salt and goodbye. "I'll always love you," she whispered against his lips. "Always. No matter what happens, no matter where life takes us. You were my first real love, Michael Jordan, and I was yours. Nobody can take that away." Then she turned and walked away. Michael stood frozen, watching her disappear into the darkness. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to run after her, to tell her he chose her, to promise they'd figure it out. But his feet wouldn't move, because she was right. He would choose basketball. He had to. It was his destiny. He heard her car start, saw her headlights sweep across the park, watched her taillights fade away until they were just red dots in the distance. Then, nothing. Michael collapsed onto the bench and put his head in his hands. He'd made his choice without saying a word, and it was going to haunt him forever. Present day. Michael Jordan opened his eyes. He was still standing in his office, holding Vanessa's letter. His face was wet. He'd been crying without realizing it. 30 years. 30 years since that night. And the pain felt as fresh as if it had happened yesterday. He walked to his desk and opened the bottom drawer. Inside was Vanessa's old sketchbook, the one she'd given him that night. He'd kept it all these years, through marriages and divorces, through championship seasons and retirement, through everything. He opened it carefully. The pages were filled with drawings of him, not Michael Jordan the athlete, just Michael, sleeping, laughing, looking at stars. In every drawing, he looked happy, peaceful, loved. On the last page, she'd written a note in her careful handwriting. "Thank you for the best summer of my life. Thank you for seeing me. I hope basketball gives you everything you're looking for. I hope it fills all the empty spaces. I hope it's enough." V. Michael closed the sketchbook and made a decision. Saturday, 3 p.m., Riverside Park. He was going. Whatever Vanessa wanted to ask him, whatever she needed to know, he owed her the truth. Even if the truth was that he still didn't know how to answer. Saturday, 2:45 p.m. Michael Jordan sat in his black Mercedes in the parking lot of Riverside Park. He'd arrived 15 minutes early. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. Through the windshield, he could see the path that led to the old oak tree. The same path he'd walked 1,000 times as a teenager. The same path where Vanessa had walked away from him 30 years ago. He was wearing jeans and a simple gray t-shirt. A baseball cap covered his head. Sunglasses hid his eyes. He looked like any other 60-year-old man, Not like Michael Jordan the legend. That's exactly what he wanted. His phone buzzed. A text from his daughter. "Where are you, Dad? Thought we had lunch today?" Michael had forgotten. He'd forgotten everything except this moment. He typed back quickly. "Sorry, something came up. Tomorrow instead?" He put the phone on silent and shoved it in his pocket. 2:47 p.m. Michael took a deep breath and opened the car door. The late summer heat hit him immediately. North Carolina in August felt exactly like it had 30 years ago. Some things never changed. He started walking down the path. The park was busy with families. Kids ran past him chasing a soccer ball. A young couple sat on a blanket having a picnic. An old man threw a tennis ball for his golden retriever. Normal Saturday afternoon stuff. But Michael felt like he was walking through a dream. Every step brought back memories. That bench where they'd shared ice cream. That tree where they'd carved their initials, probably covered by bark now. That hill where they'd rolled down laughing until they couldn't breathe. His heart pounded harder with each step. What would Vanessa look like now? Would he even recognize her? Would she recognize him? What if this was a mistake? What if seeing each other again just opened old wounds that had finally started to heal? 2:52 p.m. Michael rounded the last corner of the path, and there it was, the old oak tree. It looked smaller than he remembered, weathered by 3 decades of seasons, but it was still standing strong, its branches spreading wide like protective arms. And sitting on the bench beneath it, in a simple blue dress, was Vanessa Chen. Michael's breath caught in his throat. She was facing away from him, looking out at the river. Her hair, once completely black, now had streaks of silver running through it. She was 57 years old, but something about the way she sat, straight-backed, graceful, still, was exactly the same. Michael's feet stopped moving on their own. He stood there on the path, 10 feet away from her, suddenly terrified. What was he doing here? What was he supposed to say? How do you greet the person you loved more than 30 years ago? The person whose heart you broke, the person you never stopped thinking about? As if she could feel his presence, Vanessa turned around. Their eyes met. Time collapsed. 30 years vanished in a single moment. Michael was 17 again, seeing the quiet art girl in the library for the first time. Vanessa was the shy teenager who made his heart race without trying. But they weren't teenagers anymore. They were 2 people who'd lived entire lifetimes apart, who'd become different people, who'd loved other people, who'd succeeded and failed and gotten back up again. And yet, somehow, looking at her felt like coming home. "Hello, Michael," Vanessa said softly. Her voice was exactly the same, gentle, warm, real. "Vanessa," Michael managed to say. His voice came out as barely a whisper. He walked toward the bench. His legs felt shaky. When he sat down beside her, leaving a careful space between them, his hands were trembling. Up close, he could see the lines around her eyes, laugh lines, life lines. She was still beautiful. Not in the way magazines and television defined beauty, but in a deeper way. A way that came from living fully and honestly and without apology. "You look good," Michael said. It was a stupid thing to say, but his brain had stopped working properly. Vanessa smiled slightly. "You look tired." Michael laughed, a short, surprised sound. "I am tired." "Being Michael Jordan must be exhausting," she said. There was no judgment in her voice, just understanding. "Yeah," he admitted. "It really is." They sat in silence for a moment. It wasn't awkward exactly. It was loaded, heavy with 3 decades of unspoken words. Michael noticed Vanessa was holding something in her lap, a worn sketchbook. His heart skipped when he recognized it. "Is that?" he started. "A different one," Vanessa said, following his gaze. "But yes, I never stopped drawing." She opened the sketchbook carefully, like it was made of glass. Michael leaned slightly closer. The first page showed the oak tree, drawn in careful pencil strokes. The second page showed the bench where they sat. The third page showed Murphy's diner. Then Michael's breath caught. The fourth page was a drawing of him, not from a photograph or a magazine cover. It was him from memory. Young Michael, 17 years old, laughing at something she'd said. Vanessa turned the page. Another drawing of him, older this time, maybe from his college years. Another page, another drawing. Michael in his Bulls jersey, but not from a game. From his rookie year, looking uncertain and hopeful. Page after page, drawing after drawing. Michael through the years. Michael winning his first championship, Michael retiring, Michael getting older. She'd been drawing him for 30 years. "Vanessa," Michael whispered. His eyes burned with tears he was trying to hold back. "Why?" "I watched all your games," she said quietly. "Every single one. I told myself I was over you. I told myself I'd moved on. But I kept drawing you anyway." "I kept your sketchbook," Michael said. "The one you gave me that night. I've moved it with me everywhere I've gone. Through 3 houses, 2 marriages, everything. I couldn't let it go." Vanessa looked at him then, really looked at him. Her eyes were wet too. "We really messed up, didn't we?" she said with a sad smile. "Yeah," Michael agreed. "We really did." A little boy ran past them chasing a butterfly, laughing with pure joy. They both watched him, remembering when life was that simple. "Why did you ask me to come here?" Michael finally asked. "After all these years, why now?" Vanessa closed the sketchbook and set it carefully on the bench between them. She folded her hands in her lap. Michael could see they were still stained with paint. Oil paint this time, not the watercolor she'd used in high school. Some things never changed. "I have a heart condition," Vanessa said calmly. Michael's entire body went cold. "What?" "It's okay," she said quickly. "It's not immediately dangerous. I'm not dying tomorrow or anything dramatic like that. But it's there, a weakness, a clock ticking." "Vanessa, it made me think," she continued, "about unfinished business, about questions I've carried for 30 years, about the things we never said to each other." Michael's heart was racing. "What kind of questions?" Vanessa turned to face him fully. The late afternoon sun caught her silver hair and made it shine. She looked beautiful and brave and scared all at once. "Do you remember the last thing I asked you?" she said. "That night under this tree, before I walked away?" Michael's throat went dry. "Yes." "Do you remember how you answered?" "I didn't," Michael said quietly. "I couldn't." "No," Vanessa agreed. "You couldn't." The air between them felt electric. 30 years of silence was about to break. "I need to ask you something else, Michael," Vanessa said. Her voice was steady but soft. "Something I should have asked you that night. Something that's lived in my heart every single day since." Michael's hands were shaking again. He clasped them together to make them stop. "Okay," he whispered. Vanessa reached out slowly and took his hand. Her fingers were warm and familiar and strange all at once. Michael's entire body reacted to her touch, muscle memory from 3 decades ago. "Michael," she said, looking directly into his eyes, "I need you to answer me honestly, completely honestly. The way you couldn't that night when we were 17. "I'll try," Michael said. His voice cracked. Vanessa took a deep breath. "If you could go back to that night, knowing everything you know now, all the championships, all the fame, all the success, everything you've become, would you still choose basketball?" She paused. The question hung in the air like a held breath. Then she finished. "Or would you choose me?" Michael's world stopped spinning. This was it. The question he'd been avoiding for 30 years. The question that had haunted his dreams and his waking hours. The question he'd asked himself 1,000 times, but never answered. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Because even after 30 years, even after living the life he chose, even after achieving everything he'd ever dreamed of achieving, he still didn't know the answer. and the look on Vanessa's face told him she could see that truth written all over him. The silence stretched between them like an ocean. The silence felt like it would swallow them whole. Michael stared at Vanessa, his mouth open but empty of words. Her hand was still holding his, warm and patient, waiting for an answer he didn't know how to give. A breeze rustled through the oak tree's leaves, creating shadows that danced across their faces. Finally, Michael found his voice. Can I tell you what happened after you left?" Vanessa nodded slowly. "Okay." Michael took a shaky breath. "I went to Chapel Hill, threw myself into basketball like a man possessed. Every practice, every game, every moment. I played like I was running from something. Because I was. I was running from the look on your face that night. From the choice I made without saying a word." He stared at their joined hands. "I won the national championship my freshman year, hit the game-winning shot. 20,000 people screaming my name. And you know what I thought about in that moment? You. I thought, Vanessa would be proud. Then I remembered you were gone, that I'd pushed you away." Vanessa's eyes glistened with tears, but she stayed quiet, letting him speak. "I dated other girls," Michael continued, "tried to move on. But none of them were you. They wanted Michael Jordan, the basketball star. You were the only person who ever wanted just Michael." "That's not true," Vanessa said softly. "I wanted both. I wanted the Michael who had dreams, and the Michael who could achieve them. I just didn't know how to fit into that world." Michael squeezed her hand gently. "Tell me about you. What happened after California?" Vanessa smiled sadly. "I went to CalArts like I planned. It was everything I dreamed of. Amazing teachers, talented students, complete freedom to create. But I was so lonely, Michael. So unbearably lonely." She looked out at the river. "I'd be in my studio at midnight, painting, and I'd think about you. Wonder if you were at practice, if you were thinking about me, if you regretted letting me go." "Every day," Michael whispered. "I regretted it every single day." "I watched your games on TV," Vanessa said. "My roommates thought I was crazy. You hate sports, they'd say. But I'd tell them, I don't hate sports. I just miss someone who plays them." She turned back to face him. "I graduated with honors, started teaching art at a community college, spent my summers traveling. Paris, Tokyo, Barcelona. I painted everything I saw, won some awards, had a few gallery showings, built a good life. Did you ever—" Michael hesitated. "Did you ever fall in love again?" Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. "I tried. There was a man named David, a photographer. We dated for 5 years. He was kind and patient and loved my work. He proposed 3 times. What did you say?" "I said no every time," Vanessa admitted, "because he wasn't you. And I finally realized that wasn't fair to him. So I let him go. He's married now, has 2 kids. He sends me a Christmas card every year." Michael felt his chest tighten. "I got married twice," he said. "Both ended in divorce. Both times, my ex-wives said the same thing. You're not really here. Even when you're home, you're somewhere else." "Where were you?" Vanessa asked, though her tone suggested she already knew. "Partly basketball," Michael said. "Partly. Partly still standing under this tree, watching you walk away, wondering what would have happened if I'd run after you." They sat in heavy silence, 2 people who'd lived separate lives for 30 years, realizing those lives had been haunted by the same ghost. "I have something to confess," Vanessa said. "Something I've never told anyone." "What?" "I came back to Wilmington 3 times over the years," she said. "Once when you won your 3rd championship, once when you retired the 1st time, and once when you came back to play for the Wizards." Michael's eyes widened. "You were here, in Wilmington?" "I'd come to this park," Vanessa said. "Sit on this bench, try to work up the courage to call you, to reach out. But I never did." "Why not?" "Because I was afraid," Vanessa said simply. "Afraid you'd forgotten me. Afraid you'd moved on completely. Afraid that the boy I loved had become someone I wouldn't recognize. Michael felt tears sliding down his cheeks. He didn't bother wiping them away. I would have dropped everything if you'd called. Left practice, left games, left everything. I would have come running. Would you? Vanessa asked. Not accusingly, genuinely asking. Michael opened his mouth to say yes. But then he stopped. Would he have? Really? In the middle of a playoff run? During championship seasons? When the world was watching his every move? I don't know, he admitted. The honesty hurt. I want to say yes, but basketball was everything to me. It consumed me. I'm not sure there was room for anything else. That's what I was afraid of, Vanessa said. That's why I never called. A young couple walked past them, holding hands and laughing. They looked so carefree, so unburdened by regret. Michael envied them. Why art? He asked suddenly. You never really told me. Why was art so important to you? Vanessa thought about it. Because the world is loud and chaotic and confusing. But when I paint, I can make sense of things. I can take all the mess and turn it into something beautiful. Or at least something honest. That's how I felt about basketball, Michael said. The court was the only place that made sense, where I had control, where I knew exactly what to do. We're more alike than we ever realized, Vanessa said. Yeah. We both chose our art over each other, she continued. You chose basketball. I chose painting. Maybe we were always going to make those choices. Maybe we were too young to know how to choose both. Michael nodded slowly. Do you regret it? Your choice. Vanessa was quiet for a long time. A family of ducks waddled past them toward the river. Kids shouted in the distance. Life continued around them while they sat frozen in the past. I regret the way it happened, she finally said. I regret that we were too scared to try, too convinced we had to choose. But do I regret becoming an artist? Teaching hundreds of students to see the world differently? Creating work that meant something? No, I don't regret that. I don't regret basketball either, Michael admitted. The championships, the competition, inspiring kids to dream bigger. That meant something too. So where does that leave us? Vanessa asked. I don't know, Michael said. I honestly don't know. Vanessa pulled her hand away gently. She picked up her sketchbook and opened it to a page near the end. It was a drawing of this moment. The two of them, older now, sitting on this bench under this tree. She must have drawn it from imagination, from hope that this meeting would happen. In the drawing, they weren't touching. They were just sitting together, two separate people sharing the same space. I drew this 6 months ago, Vanessa said. When I first found out about my heart, I knew I needed to see you, to finally ask the question that's lived in my chest all these years. Michael looked at the drawing. It's beautiful. Sad, but beautiful. Life is sad and beautiful, Vanessa said. That's what makes it worth painting. Worth living. She turned to face him fully. Her expression was open, vulnerable, brave. I'm going to ask you again, Michael. And this time, I need you to answer. Not the answer you think I want to hear. Not the answer that makes you look good. The truth. Whatever that truth is. Michael's heart hammered in his chest. His palms were sweating. He felt like he was 17 again, terrified and confused, and completely lost. Okay, he whispered. Vanessa took both of his hands in hers. She looked directly into his eyes, those same eyes that had seen him as just Michael, never as Michael Jordan. If you could go back to that night, she said slowly, carefully, knowing everything you know now, all the pain, all the success, all the loneliness, all the glory, would you still choose basketball? Or would you choose me? The question hung in the air between them like a prayer. Michael opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. His mind raced through 30 years of memories, championship trophies, and empty hotel rooms, roaring crowds and silent nights, being worshipped by millions, but truly known by no one. He thought about Vanessa's drawings, how she'd watched every game, carrying him in her heart even when he wasn't there. He thought about his failed marriages, his distant relationships with his children, the loneliness that lived in the center of all his success. But he also thought about the pure joy of basketball, the perfection of a last-second shot, the brotherhood of teammates, the way he'd inspired millions of kids to believe they could fly. Could he regret that? Should he? Michael's throat was so tight he could barely breathe. Tears streamed down his face openly now. He started. Vanessa, But the words wouldn't come, because the truth was complicated and painful and impossible to put into words. The truth was that both answers were wrong. The truth was that there was no good answer. The truth was that some questions couldn't be answered, only felt. I can't, Michael finally said, his voice breaking. I can't answer that question. And then, for the first time in decades, Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player who ever lived, the man who never showed weakness, the legend who seemed invincible, completely broke down. His shoulders shook with sobs, his hands trembled in Vanessa's grip. All the pain and regret and confusion he'd buried for 30 years came pouring out in a wave he couldn't control. Vanessa didn't let go of his hands. She didn't look away. She just held on and let him cry. Because sometimes love isn't about having the right answers. Sometimes it's just about being brave enough to face the questions together. Michael cried like he hadn't cried since he was a child. Deep, shuddering sobs that came from a place he'd locked away for decades. All the loneliness, all the regret, all the what-ifs he'd carried like stones in his chest came flooding out. Vanessa held his hands through all of it. She didn't try to comfort him with empty words. She didn't tell him it was okay. She just sat there, anchoring him while the storm passed through. Finally, after what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Michael's breathing slowed. He wiped his face with his sleeve, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. "I didn't mean to. Don't apologize," Vanessa interrupted gently. "You needed that, maybe for 30 years." Michael laughed, a wet, broken sound. "Yeah, maybe." He looked at her through red-rimmed eyes. "I know you want an answer. You deserve an answer. But I can't give you the one you're asking for because both answers would be lies." "What do you mean?" Vanessa asked. Michael took a shaky breath. "If I say I'd choose you, I'd be lying. Because I didn't choose you. I chose basketball. That's the truth. That's what actually happened. And I can't change that, or pretend I would have done differently." Vanessa nodded slowly, her face unreadable. "But if I say I'd choose basketball again," Michael continued, "that's also a lie, because it would mean all this pain was worth it. That the success filled all the empty spaces. And it didn't, Vanessa. It didn't come close." He squeezed her hands. "So I can't answer your question, because the answer is both and neither. The answer is that I'm still that scared 17-year-old boy who couldn't figure out how to choose. I'm just 60 now instead." Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she was smiling slightly. "Thank you," she said softly. Michael blinked. For what? For not being able to answer? For crying all over you? "For being honest," Vanessa said. "For finally admitting you don't know. That's more honest than anything you could have said 30 years ago." She let go of one of his hands and reached up to touch his face gently. "You know what I realized while I was drawing all those pictures of you? While I was watching you win championship after championship?" "What?" "That you were never really happy," Vanessa said. "Oh, you smiled for the cameras. You celebrated with your teammates. But I could see it in your eyes. There was always something missing, something hollow." Michael felt fresh tears threatening. "You could see that? Through a television screen?" "I know you, Michael," Vanessa said simply. "I always did. The real you, not the legend." She pulled her hand back and picked up her sketchbook again. She flipped to a page near the end, and showed it to him. It was a drawing of Michael from just a few years ago. Older, grayer, sitting alone in what looked like an office. The detail was incredible. But what caught Michael's attention was the expression on his face in the drawing. He looked lost. "Is that how you see me?" Michael asked quietly. "That's how you are," Vanessa said. "A man who achieved everything but lost himself along the way." The words should have hurt. They should have made Michael defensive. But instead, they felt like relief. Like someone finally seeing him clearly after decades of being invisible behind his own fame. "I need to tell you something," Michael said. "Something I've never told anyone." "Okay." He took a deep breath. "After I won my 6th championship, I stood in the middle of the court holding the trophy. The crowd was going absolutely insane. My teammates were celebrating. It was the perfect moment, the culmination of everything I'd worked for." "And?" Vanessa prompted gently. "And all I could think about was that night, by this tree," Michael said, "watching you walk away. I thought, I did it. I became the greatest. But the person who believed in me before anyone else wasn't there to see it. And that made all of it feel incomplete." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Michael." "Every championship, every award, every standing ovation," Michael continued. "Part of me was looking for you in the crowd, hoping you'd somehow be there, hoping I'd get a chance to show you that your faith in me wasn't wasted." "It wasn't wasted," Vanessa said firmly. "Not for a second." "But it also wasn't enough," Michael said. "The basketball wasn't enough. It never filled the hole that losing you created. I just got really good at pretending it did." They sat in silence, holding the weight of that confession between them. "Can I tell you something now?" Vanessa asked. "Please." "I never stopped loving you," she said. "I dated other people. I built a life. I convinced myself I'd moved on. But you were always there, Michael, in every painting, in every quiet moment, and every time I watched the sunset and remembered how you taught me to really see colors." "Vanessa, let me finish," she said gently. "I need to say this. I've been carrying it for 30 years. Michael nodded. "I was angry at you for a long time," Vanessa said. "Angry that you couldn't choose me. Angry that basketball was more important. But then I realized something. I did the exact same thing. I chose art school over you. I walked away just as much as you let me walk away." "You gave me a choice," Michael protested. "You asked me directly." "No," Vanessa said. "I gave you an impossible choice. Basketball or me. As if love and dreams can't coexist. As if we had to choose one or the other. That wasn't fair. I was 17 and scared, and I set us both up to fail." Michael stared at her. "You're saying it's your fault?" "I'm saying it's nobody's fault," Vanessa said. "Or maybe it's both our faults. We were kids, Michael. We didn't know how to fight for each other and our dreams at the same time. We thought we had to pick one." "Did we?" Michael asked. "Did we really have to pick?" Vanessa looked away, toward the river, where the afternoon sun made the water sparkle like diamonds. "I don't know. Maybe with more courage, more maturity, more faith in each other, we could have found a way. But we didn't have those things. We just had fear. I should have run after you that night," Michael said. "I should have told you we'd figure it out together. That's what I regret most. Not that I chose basketball, but that I was too scared to fight for both." "And I should have stayed," Vanessa said. "Should have trusted that love could survive distance and different dreams. That's my regret." They looked at each other, two people carrying matching scars from the same wound. "So here we are," Michael said, 30 years later. Both successful in our own ways, both alone, both still wondering what if. "Yes," Vanessa agreed. "Here we are." A little girl ran past them chasing a balloon. Her mother called after her, laughing. The simplicity of it made Michael's chest ache. "Why did you really ask me that question?" Michael said. "The one I can't answer. You already knew I chose basketball. You lived through that. So why make me face it again?" Vanessa smiled sadly. Because I needed to know if you'd changed. If the Michael Jordan I loved was still in there somewhere, underneath all the fame and success and armor. Or if he was gone forever. And he's still there, she said. Scared and confused, and broken in all the same ways. But also braver than he was. Honest enough to admit he doesn't have all the answers. That's growth, Michael. That's something. Michael felt something shift in his chest. Not quite healing, but maybe the beginning of it. I have a confession too, Vanessa said. About why I asked you here. About my heart condition. Michael's whole body tensed. Is it worse than you said? Are you… No, Vanessa said quickly. It's not that. It's just… having a health scare makes you think about your legacy. What you leave behind. And I realized my greatest regret wasn't my art career or my life choices. It was leaving things unfinished with you. What do you mean, unfinished? I mean, we never got closure, Vanessa said. We just ended abruptly, painfully, with so much left unsaid. And I've been carrying that incompleteness for 30 years. It's been like reading a book where someone tore out the last chapter. So this is closure? Michael asked. His voice came out smaller than he intended. This is goodbye again? Vanessa looked at him with those same kind, knowing eyes. I don't know what this is, Michael. That's not up to just me. It's up to both of us. What do you want it to be? He asked. I asked you a question, Vanessa said. Now you get to ask me one. Michael's heart raced. There were so many things he wanted to ask, but only one question really mattered. Do you forgive me? He whispered. For choosing basketball? For letting you walk away? For breaking your heart and my own? Vanessa's eyes overflowed with tears again, but she was smiling, really smiling, warm and genuine, and full of something that looked like peace. Oh, Michael, she said softly. I forgave you years ago. The question is, have you forgiven yourself? And just like that, Michael realized the truth. The question Vanessa had asked him, the one he couldn't answer, wasn't really about choosing basketball or choosing her. It was about whether he could forgive himself for being human, for being 17 and scared, for making an impossible choice in an impossible situation. Could he forgive that boy who stood frozen while the girl he loved walked away? Could he finally let go of 30 years of guilt? Michael looked at Vanessa, this woman who'd loved him before the world knew his name, who'd carried him in her heart through 3 decades of distance, who'd come back to offer him something he didn't even know he needed. Forgiveness. Not hers. His own. I don't know if I can, Michael admitted, but I want to try. Vanessa squeezed his hand. That's a start. They sat together as the afternoon sun began its slow descent toward evening. The park around them continued its normal rhythm. Kids playing, dogs barking, life happening. But on that bench, under that old oak tree, something was shifting. Not quite healing. Not quite closure. But maybe, just maybe, the beginning of peace. The sun was lower now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The kind of sunset Vanessa had taught Michael to really see all those years ago. Not just look at, but actually see. Every color, every shade, every moment of beauty before it disappeared. It's beautiful, Michael said, watching the sky. Yes, Vanessa agreed. It is. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the kind of silence only old friends or old lovers can share, where words aren't necessary because understanding runs deeper than language. Finally, Vanessa spoke. Can I show you something? Of course. She opened her sketchbook to a page near the very end. This drawing was different from the others. It wasn't of Michael. It was of 2 hands reaching toward each other across a distance, almost touching, but not quite. The space between them was filled with tiny words written in pencil. So small, Michael had to lean in close to read them. What if? I'm sorry. Come back. Don't go. I love you. I'm scared. Forgive me. all the things they'd never said to each other, living in the space between their almost touching hands. "I drew this last year," Vanessa said quietly. "Before I knew about my heart, before I decided to find you. It's called 30 Years Between Us." Michael felt his throat tighten. "It's perfect and terrible. Perfectly terrible." Vanessa smiled. "That's what I was going for." "Can I ask you something?" Michael said. "Anything." "You said you never married, that you let David go because he wasn't me. But was there ever a time when you were happy? Really happy? Not just okay, but truly happy?" Vanessa thought about it carefully. "Yes," she said. "When I was teaching. When a student who thought they couldn't draw would create something beautiful and their whole face would light up. Those moments felt like magic." She turned to look at him. "What about you? Were you ever truly happy?" Michael wanted to say yes immediately, to list his championships, his accomplishments, his moments of glory. But Vanessa had asked for truth, and he owed her that. "On the court, sometimes," he admitted. "When everything clicked perfectly. When the ball felt like an extension of my hand, and time seemed to slow down. In those moments, I was happy. Or at least, I was free from thinking about everything else." "That's not the same as happy," Vanessa observed. "No," Michael agreed. "It's not." A jogger ran past them, earbuds in, lost in his own world. An elderly couple walked by holding hands, moving slowly but together. Michael watched them with something that felt like envy. "What happens now?" he asked. "After this conversation? After today?" Vanessa closed her sketchbook and set it on the bench between them. "I don't know. What do you want to happen?" "Honestly," Michael said, "part of me wants to ask if we can start over, if we can try again. See if what we had is still there after all these years. And the other part is terrified," Michael admitted. "Terrified of disappointing you again, of being that same person who couldn't give you what you needed, of breaking your heart twice." Vanessa nodded slowly. "I understand that fear, because I have it too." "You do?" "Of course," she said. "Michael, you're not just some guy I used to date. You're Michael Jordan. Your life is public and complicated and enormous. I'm a quiet art teacher who likes painting in silence and reading poetry. What if we're too different now? What if the people we've become can't fit together the way the kids we were did?" Michael hadn't thought about it that way. He'd been so focused on his own fears that he hadn't considered hers. "So what do we do?" he asked. Vanessa smiled. A real smile, warm and a little bit mischievous. It reminded him so much of 17-year-old Vanessa that his heart skipped a beat. "We could just be honest with each other," she said. "For the first time in 30 years. No more what-ifs, no more living in the past. Just honest." "Okay," Michael said. "Honest. I can try that." "Good," Vanessa said. "Then honestly, Michael, I don't think we can go back. We can't be 17 again. We can't recapture what we had because those people don't exist anymore." Michael felt his heart sink even though he knew she was right. "But," Vanessa continued, "maybe we don't need to go back. Maybe we can go forward, as the people we are now, without expectations or pressure or trying to fix the past." "What would that look like?" Michael asked. Vanessa thought for a moment. "I teach art classes on Thursday evenings at the Wilmington Community Center. Room 7. We're always looking for volunteer models, people to sit still while my students practice portrait drawing." Michael stared at her. "Are you asking me to model for your art class?" "I'm asking if you'd like to spend time together," Vanessa said. "Doing something simple, something that has nothing to do with basketball or fame or our history. Just sitting in a room while people draw you, maybe getting coffee afterward and talking about normal things." "Normal things," Michael repeated. "Like what books we're reading," Vanessa said. "Or what we had for breakfast. Or whether we prefer mountains or beaches. Normal things that normal people talk about." Michael felt something light and warm bloom in his chest. Hope, maybe. Or possibility. I haven't been normal in a very long time, he said. Neither have I, Vanessa admitted. But maybe we could try. No promises, no pressure, just two old friends getting to know each other again. Are we friends? Michael asked. After everything? Vanessa reached out and took his hand again. I think we could be, if we're brave enough. Michael looked at their joined hands, paint-stained fingers, and basketball-calloused palms. Two different kinds of artists who'd spent their lives creating different kinds of beauty. Thursday evenings, he said. Room 7. Thursday evenings, Vanessa confirmed. If you want to. I want to, Michael said, and he meant it with his whole heart. They stood up from the bench together. The sun was almost down now, the sky darkening from orange to deep purple. The park was emptying out as families headed home for dinner. I should go, Vanessa said. I have papers to grade, essays about why art matters. Does it? Michael asked. Matter, I mean. Yes, Vanessa said simply. Because it's how we make sense of being human, how we turn pain into beauty and confusion into meaning. That's what you did with basketball, actually. You turned athletic competition into art. Michael had never thought of it that way. But she was right. The way he played had been about more than just winning. It had been about creation, expression, beauty. Thank you, he said, for asking me here, for the question I couldn't answer, for everything. Thank you for coming, Vanessa said, for being brave enough to face me after all these years, for crying in front of me, for being honest. They stood facing each other, uncertain how to say goodbye. A handshake felt too formal. A hug felt too intimate. Everything felt complicated and simple at the same time. Finally, Vanessa stepped forward and hugged him. A real hug, tight and warm, and full of 30 years of missing each other. Michael hugged her back, breathing in the smell of her hair. Now some flowery shampoo instead of the strawberry stuff she'd used as a teenager. Everything was the same and different all at once. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying and smiling at the same time. Thursday, Vanessa said. 7 p.m. Don't be late. I won't be, Michael promised. Vanessa picked up her sketchbook and started walking toward the parking lot. After a few steps, she turned back. Michael? Yeah. For what it's worth, she said, I think you made the right choice that night. The world needed who you became. People needed the inspiration you gave them. Kids needed someone to show them they could fly. I just needed to know that who you became didn't forget who you were. Before Michael could respond, she turned and continued walking. He watched her go, just like he had 30 years ago. But this time was different. This time, he wasn't frozen. This time, he wasn't letting fear win. Vanessa, he called out. She stopped and turned around. I never forgot, Michael said, his voice carrying across the distance between them. Not for a single day. You were always there, in every game, every victory, every quiet moment. You were always there. Vanessa smiled, that beautiful, genuine smile that had captured his heart when he was 17 and still had the power to make him breathless at 60. I know, she said. I was watching. Then she walked to her car, got in, and drove away. Her taillights disappeared into the evening, leaving Michael standing alone under the old oak tree. But this time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like something else. A pause, maybe. A breath between chapters. Michael walked slowly back to his own car. His legs felt steadier now, his chest felt lighter. For the first time in 30 years, the weight of regret wasn't crushing him. He got in his car but didn't start the engine right away. Instead, he pulled out his phone and set a reminder. Thursday, 7 p.m., Wilmington Community Center, Room 7. Then he sat there, watching the last light fade from the sky, thinking about paint-stained fingers and impossible questions and the courage it takes to face the past without trying to change it. He thought about forgiveness, not the kind someone else gives you, but the kind you have to give yourself. He thought about 17-year-old Michael frozen under this tree, watching Vanessa walk away. And 60-year-old Michael finally understood something that boy couldn't. Sometimes love isn't about making the right choice. Sometimes it's about learning to live with the choice you made. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you get a second chance. Not to redo the past, but to write a new chapter that honors what was while celebrating what is. Michael started his car and pulled out of the parking lot. In his rearview mirror, he could see the old oak tree standing silent and strong, keeping its secrets like it had for decades. As he drove away, he found himself smiling. Thursday was only 5 days away, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, Michael Jordan was looking forward to something that had nothing to do with basketball, championships, or glory. He was looking forward to sitting in a room full of art students, being still, being seen, being just Michael, with Vanessa nearby, drawing him the way she always had, not as a legend, but as a person. That sounded perfect. 6 months later, Michael Jordan walked through the front doors of the Wilmington Community Center, carrying 2 cups of coffee, one black, the way he liked it, one with cream, and 2 sugars, the way Vanessa liked hers. It was Thursday evening, 7 p.m., like every Thursday evening for the past 6 months. The hallways smelled like floor polish and old paint. Inspirational posters lined the walls. Believe in yourself, and art is life, and other phrases that would have made Michael roll his eyes 6 months ago. But now they just made him smile. He knew the way to room 7 by heart now. Third door on the left, past the yoga studio and the children's music classroom. He could hear voices inside. Vanessa's students arriving, setting up easels, chatting about their weeks. Michael paused outside the door, balancing the coffee cups carefully. This had become his routine, his sanctuary. Thursday evenings where he wasn't Michael Jordan the legend, just Michael, the quiet guy who sat very still for 2 hours while college students and retirees and everyone in between tried to capture his face on paper. He pushed open the door. The room was exactly as it always was, large and bright, with tall windows and work tables covered in paint splatters from 100 different projects. About 15 easels were set up in a semicircle. In the center was a simple wooden stool where Michael would sit. Vanessa stood at the front of the room, organizing charcoal pencils and erasers. She wore paint-stained jeans and a soft gray sweater. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a loose bun. She looked up when Michael entered, and her whole face brightened. That smile still did things to his heart. "Right on time," she said. "I'm always on time," Michael replied, walking over to hand her the coffee. "You were late the second week," Vanessa reminded him, taking the cup gratefully. "There was traffic," Michael protested. "There's always traffic, Michael. You just didn't leave early enough." "Details," he said, grinning. This was their routine too, the gentle teasing, the comfortable back and forth, like they'd been doing this for years instead of months. The students started filtering in. There was Margaret, a 72-year-old retired nurse who decided to learn art after her husband died. There was James, a shy college kid studying graphic design. There was Keisha, a high school teacher who came to distress after long days with teenagers. They all greeted Michael warmly, not with awe or starstruck excitement, just normal hellos. "Hey Michael, how was your week? Did you watch the game Sunday?" That last question came from Robert, a mechanic in his 50s who'd recently discovered he loved drawing hands. "I did," Michael said. "LeBron still got it." "Not like you did, though," Robert said loyally. Michael smiled, but didn't respond. 6 months ago, he would have felt the need to analyze the game, to provide expert commentary, to be Michael Jordan. Now, he just let it pass. "All right, everyone," Vanessa called out. "Let's get started. Michael, you know where to go." Michael walked to the center stool and sat down. Vanessa came over to position him, turning his head slightly to the left, adjusting his shoulders, making sure the light hit his face right. Her hands were gentle and professional, but every time she touched him, Michael felt a small electric current run through his body. "Comfortable?" she asked. "As comfortable as anyone can be sitting perfectly still for 2 hours," Michael said. "You're getting better at it," Vanessa said. "You only fidgeted 17 times last week." "You counted?" "I always count," she said, her eyes twinkling. She stepped back and addressed the class. "Okay, everyone. Tonight we're focusing on capturing emotion in the eyes. Really look at your subject. What story is being told in his expression? What feelings are hiding beneath the surface?" The students settled in, studying Michael with intense concentration. Pencils began scratching against paper. Michael sat very still, his eyes focused on a point on the far wall, like Vanessa had taught him. But he was intensely aware of her moving through the room, stopping at each easel to offer quiet guidance. "Good, Margaret. See how you've caught the crinkles at the corners? That's where laughter lives. James, don't be afraid to go darker with the shadows. Depth comes from contrast." "Beautiful work, Keisha. You're really seeing him." This was Michael's favorite part of Thursday evenings, listening to Vanessa teach, watching her move between students with such patience and care, seeing her come alive when she talked about art. She was magnificent. After about 45 minutes, Vanessa called for a break. The students stretched, chatted, got water. Michael stood up and rolled his shoulders. Vanessa walked over with her own sketchbook. She always drew alongside her students, though she never showed Michael what she was creating. "How am I doing?" Michael asked. "You're a natural model," Vanessa said. "Much better than last month when you kept checking your phone." "I said I was sorry about that," Michael said. "It was my daughter's birthday. I wanted to make sure she got my message." "I know," Vanessa said, her voice softening. "That was sweet. How is she?" "Good," Michael said. "Actually, she asked about you again." "She did?" Michael nodded. "She wants to meet you. Says any woman who can make her dad smile like an idiot must be special." Vanessa laughed, that genuine, unguarded laugh that Michael had fallen in love with twice now. Once at 17, once at 60. "I smile like an idiot?" he asked. "Constantly," Vanessa confirmed, "especially on Thursdays. Can you blame me?" They stood there, coffee cups in hand, smiling at each other like teenagers. Around them, students chatted and laughed. Life continued. But in their small bubble, time seemed to slow down. "Vanessa," Michael said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Always." "Are we dating?" he asked. "I mean officially, or are we just whatever this is?" Vanessa tilted her head, considering. "What do you want us to be?" "I want us to be real," Michael said. "Not undefined. Not just friends or old flames or any other vague thing. I want to be able to tell my daughter that yes, I'm dating someone. Someone wonderful. Someone who makes Thursday nights the best part of my week." Vanessa's eyes got misty. "Michael, you don't have to answer right now," Michael said quickly. "I just wanted you to know. I'm 60 years old, Vanessa. I'm too old to play games or hide what I feel. And what I feel is that these past 6 months have been the happiest I've been in 30 years. Vanessa set down her coffee cup and took both of Michael's hands in hers. Right there in front of her entire class, she looked up at him with those eyes that had always seen straight through to his soul. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes?" "Yes, we're dating," Vanessa said. "Yes, this is real. Yes, I feel the same way. Yes to all of it." Michael felt like he could fly, like he was 20 years old hitting the game-winning shot all over again. Except this feeling was better, deeper, more real. "Can I kiss you?" he asked. "In front of my students?" Vanessa asked, raising an eyebrow. "In front of everyone," Michael said. Vanessa smiled. "Then yes, kiss me." So he did. It wasn't their first kiss in 30 years. They'd kissed a few times over the past months, tentative and careful, testing the waters. But this kiss was different. This kiss was a promise, a commitment, a choice they were both making with eyes wide open. The class erupted in applause and cheers, Margaret whistled. James pumped his fist. Keisha shouted, "Finally!" When they pulled apart, both of them were laughing and blushing like teenagers. "Back to work, everyone," Vanessa called out, trying to sound stern but failing completely. "Yes, Professor Chen," Robert called back, grinning. The second half of class went quickly. Michael sat back on his stool, but he couldn't stop smiling. He caught Vanessa's eye several times, and each time she was smiling too. When class finally ended, the students packed up their supplies and filtered out, calling goodbyes. Margaret was the last to leave, pausing at the door. "You two are good for each other," she said. "Don't let this one get away again, Michael." "I won't," Michael promised. "Not this time." When they were finally alone, Vanessa started cleaning up the room. Michael helped, collecting stray pencils and erasing chalk marks from the board. "So," Vanessa said casually, "now that we're officially dating, does this mean I get to meet your family?" Michael paused mid-eraser swipe. "You want to meet my kids?" "If you want me to," Vanessa said. "No pressure. I want to know all of you, Michael. Not just Thursday evening, Michael. All of it." Michael set down the eraser and walked over to her. "My life is complicated. My ex-wives hate me. My kids are grown but still dealing with their own issues about having me as a father. The media would have a field day if they found out I was dating someone. It's messy and public and nothing like your quiet life." "I know," Vanessa said calmly. "And you still want in?" "I want you," Vanessa said. "All of you. The messy parts, and the complicated parts, and the public parts. I spent 30 years with only pieces of you, memories and television clips and drawings from my imagination. I want the real thing now, if you'll let me in." Michael felt his eyes getting wet. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified," Vanessa admitted, "but I'm sure. We wasted 30 years being scared, Michael. I don't want to waste any more time." "Me neither," Michael said. He pulled her into a hug. A real hug. The kind that said everything words couldn't. They stood there in the empty classroom, holding each other, while the evening darkened outside the windows. "I love you," Michael whispered into her hair. "I never stopped. Not for 30 years. Not for a single day." Vanessa pulled back just enough to look up at him. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling. "I love you too," she said. "Always have. Always will. Even when I'm being Michael Jordan instead of just Michael." "Especially then," Vanessa said, "because Michael Jordan is part of who you are. I don't want you to hide that or apologize for it. I just want you to remember that underneath all of that, you're still the boy who sat with me in the library and listened to me talk about painting for hours." "I remember," Michael said. "That boy is still here. You helped me find him again." They kissed again, slower this time. Sweeter. Full of promises and possibilities. When they finally pulled apart, Vanessa laughed softly. "What?" Michael asked. "I just realized something," she said. "What?" "If someone had told 17-year-old me that in 40 years I'd be standing in an art classroom kissing Michael Jordan after he modeled for my students, I never would have believed them." "Life is strange," Michael agreed. "Life is beautiful," Vanessa corrected. "Even the painful parts, especially the painful parts, because they led us here." Michael looked around the classroom at the easels and paint-stained tables and inspirational posters. This wasn't a basketball court or a championship stage. This was just a simple room in a community center in Wilmington, North Carolina. But it felt like home. "Come on," Vanessa said, grabbing her bag. "I'll buy you dinner." "You don't have to do that," Michael said. "I want to," Vanessa insisted. "We're dating now. That means I get to take you on dates too." "Where are we going?" Vanessa grinned. "Murphy's Diner. I'm craving a chocolate milkshake with 2 straws." Michael's heart skipped a beat. Murphy's Diner. Their place. Where they'd spent every Friday night when they were teenagers. "Is it even still open?" he asked. "Only one way to find out," Vanessa said, taking his hand. They walked out of the community center together, hand in hand, into the warm North Carolina night. The stars were just starting to appear in the darkening sky. Michael looked up at them, remembering lying under these same stars with Vanessa when they were young, making promises they couldn't keep. But they were keeping them now. Better late than never. As they walked to Vanessa's car, she insisted on driving. Michael felt something he hadn't felt in 3 decades. Complete peace. Not the temporary satisfaction of winning a championship. Not the fleeting high of success or fame. But real, deep, lasting peace. The kind that comes from being fully known by someone who loves you anyway. The kind that comes from forgiving yourself for being human. The kind that comes from finally coming home. "Michael," Vanessa said as they reached her car. "Yeah?" "Thank you for coming back," she said quietly. "For being brave enough to meet me at the tree. For answering my impossible question by admitting you couldn't answer it. That took more courage than any basketball game ever could." "Thank you for asking it," Michael said. "For forcing me to face 30 years of running away from myself." They got in the car, and Vanessa started the engine. As she pulled out of the parking lot, Michael reached over and took her hand. She squeezed back, and they drove through Wilmington toward Murphy's Diner, toward chocolate milkshakes and shared memories, and a future neither of them had planned, but both of them wanted. Behind them, the Wilmington Community Center stood quiet in the darkness. Room 7 dark and empty until next Thursday, when Michael Jordan would return once again. Not as a legend, not as an icon, just as Michael. The man who learned that sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning championships or achieving fame or becoming the best. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply finding your way back to the person who saw you first. And choosing to stay. 1 year later, Michael Jordan stood in front of his bathroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the 3rd time. His hands were shaking slightly, which was ridiculous. He was 61 years old. He'd played in front of millions of people. He'd hit game-winning shots with the world watching. But right now, getting ready for dinner with Vanessa's parents, he felt like a nervous teenager all over again. His phone buzzed. A text from Vanessa. "Stop overthinking. They're going to love you. I already warned them you're terrible at sitting still during dinner." Michael smiled and texted back. "That's not fair. I've gotten much better at sitting still. Ask your Thursday class." "They say you still fidget," Vanessa replied. "But they love you anyway. Just like I do. Now hurry up. You're picking me up in 20 minutes." Michael pocketed his phone and took one last look in the mirror. He'd come a long way in the past year. The permanent tension in his shoulders had eased. The hollow look in his eyes had been replaced with something warmer. He looked happy. Actually happy. Not the forced smile he'd worn for cameras his entire career. Not the satisfied smirk after winning championships. But genuine contentment that came from the inside. Vanessa had done that, or rather, they'd done it together. The drive to Vanessa's apartment took 15 minutes. She lived in a small but cozy place filled with paintings, hers and her students' work covering every wall. It looked like an art gallery had exploded in the best possible way. Michael knocked on the door, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. Vanessa had mentioned once that they were her favorite. He remembered everything she said now, made mental notes, paid attention in ways he'd never done with anyone else. The door opened, and there she was. Vanessa wore a simple navy blue dress and small pearl earrings. Her silver-streaked hair fell loosely around her shoulders. She looked beautiful and comfortable and completely herself. "Sunflowers," she said, her eyes lighting up as she took the bouquet. "You remembered." "I remember everything," Michael said. "That's a dangerous promise," Vanessa teased, but she stood on her tiptoes and kissed him softly. Inside her apartment, she put the flowers in a vase while Michael waited by the door. He noticed a new painting on the easel in the corner, a work in progress showing the old oak tree in Riverside Park. "Is that for the gallery showing next month?" Michael asked. Vanessa nodded. "It's part of a series I'm calling Full Circle, paintings about places that hold memories, places where endings and beginnings overlap." Can I see the others? Not yet, Vanessa said mysteriously. You'll see them at the opening, along with everyone else. I hate surprises, Michael grumbled. No, you don't, Vanessa said, grabbing her purse. You just hate not being in control. There's a difference. She was right, of course. She was usually right about him. They drove to the restaurant where they were meeting Vanessa's parents, a small Italian place in downtown Wilmington. During the drive, Michael's knee bounced nervously. Vanessa put her hand on his knee to still it. They're going to love you, Michael. I promise. How do you know? Because I love you, Vanessa said simply. And they trust my judgment. Eventually. Eventually. Well, it did take me 30 years to figure out we belong together, Vanessa said with a smile. So, maybe they're a little suspicious of my timeline. Michael laughed despite his nerves. Fair point. They pulled into the restaurant parking lot. Through the window, Michael could see an older Asian couple sitting at a corner table. Vanessa's father was reading the menu. Her mother was rearranging the silverware. Deep breath, Vanessa said, squeezing Michael's hand. Just be yourself. Not Michael Jordan the legend. Just Michael. The man who sits still in my art class and brings me coffee and makes me laugh. They'll love that, Michael. Okay, Michael said. Just Michael. I can do that. They walked into the restaurant together. Dinner was both easier and harder than Michael expected. Vanessa's father, David Chen, was a retired engineer, quiet and thoughtful, asking careful questions about Michael's business ventures with the Hornets. Her mother, Linda, was warm and talkative, constantly refilling everyone's water glasses and making sure everyone had enough bread. They didn't treat Michael like a celebrity. They treated him like the man dating their daughter, which meant they were protective, curious, and slightly suspicious. So, Linda said about halfway through dinner, Vanessa tells us you've been coming to her art classes for almost a year now. Yes, ma'am, Michael said. Every Thursday. That's quite a commitment, David observed. Most people don't stick with things that long unless they're getting something out of it. Michael glanced at Vanessa, who was smiling slightly, letting him navigate this on his own. I get a lot out of it, Michael said honestly. The classes help me slow down, be present, and, he paused, then decided to just be truthful. I get to spend time with your daughter. That's worth more than anything. Linda's expression softened slightly. Vanessa says you knew each other in high school. We did, Michael confirmed, a long time ago. And then you lost touch, David said. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir, Michael said. For 30 years. That was my fault. I made choices back then that hurt Vanessa. I've regretted those choices every day since. The table was quiet. Vanessa reached under the table and squeezed Michael's hand. But you're here now, Linda said gently. That counts for something. I hope so, Michael said. David set down his fork and looked directly at Michael with sharp, assessing eyes. My daughter is the most important person in the world to me and her mother. She's brilliant and kind and talented. She's also been hurt before. Dad, Vanessa said quietly. No, let me finish, David said. He kept his eyes on Michael. I watched my daughter watch your basketball games for 30 years. I watched her carry a torch for someone who wasn't there. I watched her turn down good men because they weren't you. So I need to know, are you going to hurt her again? Because if there's even a chance of that, I'd rather know now. The restaurant noise faded away. Michael felt the weight of the question, the importance of this moment. He could give an easy answer, make promises, say what they wanted to hear. But Vanessa had taught him that honesty was more valuable than comfort. Mr. Chen, Michael said slowly, I can't promise I'll never hurt Vanessa. People who love each other hurt each other sometimes. It's part of being human. But I can promise that I will never leave her the way I did before. I will never choose anything over her, and I will spend every day trying to be worthy of the second chance she's given me. He turned to look at Vanessa. I lost her once because I was too scared to fight for both my dreams and my heart. I was 17, and stupid and convinced I had to choose. I'm not that person anymore. If I've learned anything in 61 years, it's that nothing, no championship, no amount of fame, no amount of success, means anything without someone to share it with, and I want to share everything with your daughter, if she'll have me." Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Linda pulled a tissue from her purse and dabbed at her own eyes. Even David looked slightly misty. "Well," David said gruffly, "that's a good answer." "Does that mean you approve?" Michael asked. David exchanged a look with his wife. Linda nodded slightly. "It means we'll give you a chance," David said. "But we're watching you, Mr. Jordan." "I wouldn't expect anything less," Michael said. "And please, call me Michael." The tension at the table broke. Linda started asking about Michael's children. David wanted to know about managing a basketball team. Vanessa told embarrassing stories about Michael falling asleep during art class once. "I did not fall asleep," Michael protested. "I was resting my eyes." "You were snoring," Vanessa said. "Light breathing," Michael corrected. Everyone laughed. As dinner wound down and they were waiting for dessert, Linda excused herself to the restroom. David leaned back in his chair, studying Michael thoughtfully. "Can I ask you something?" David said. "Of course." "Why now?" David asked. "Why come back after 30 years? What changed?" Michael thought about how to answer. "I didn't come back," he said finally. "Vanessa found me. She sent me a letter asking me to meet her, and she asked me a question I couldn't answer." "What question?" David asked. Michael looked at Vanessa. She nodded, giving him permission to share. "She asked if I could go back. Knowing everything I know now, would I still choose basketball over her?" Michael said, and I couldn't answer it, because both answers felt like lies. David frowned, processing this. "That's quite a question." "It was the right question," Michael said. "It forced me to face something I'd been running from for 30 years. The fact that I made a choice that broke both our hearts, and I'd been living with the guilt of that choice my entire adult life." "And now?" David asked. "Can you answer it now?" Michael was quiet for a moment. The question he couldn't answer a year ago. The question that had haunted him for 3 decades. Could he answer it now? "Yes," Michael said slowly. "I think I can." Both David and Vanessa leaned forward slightly. "The answer is that it was the wrong question," Michael said. "The real question wasn't whether I'd choose basketball or Vanessa. The real question was whether I could forgive myself for being 17 and scared and human. Whether I could stop punishing myself for making an impossible choice in an impossible situation." He reached across the table and took Vanessa's hand. "I chose basketball back then because I didn't know how to choose both," Michael continued. "I thought dreams and love were separate things, that I had to sacrifice one for the other. And maybe at 17, I did. Maybe we both did. We weren't ready for both." "But you are now," David asked. "Now I know that the greatest dream isn't championships or fame," Michael said. "It's finding someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves you anyway. Vanessa gave me basketball. She believed in me before anyone else did. But more than that, she saw Michael Jordan the person, not just the player. That's the dream worth choosing." Vanessa was crying openly now, tears streaming down her face. "So yes," Michael said. "If I could go back to that night 30 years ago, I'd still choose basketball, because that boy needed to chase his dream. But I'd also tell him something. Your dream isn't complete without love. Success without someone to share it with is just noise. Hold on to this girl. Fight for her. Figure out how to choose both." He squeezed Vanessa's hand. "But I can't go back. None of us can. All I can do is choose right now. Today, tomorrow, every day. And I choose her. Every single time." David Chen smiled. A real smile, warm and approving. "That," he said, "is the right answer." Linda returned from the restroom, immediately noticing Vanessa's tears. "What did I miss?" she asked, alarmed. "Nothing," Vanessa said, wiping her eyes and laughing. "Everything. Michael just, He answered the question. Linda looked confused, but sat down and patted Vanessa's hand. Well, whatever he said made you cry, so it must have been good. It was perfect, Vanessa said, looking at Michael with such love that his heart felt too big for his chest. Dessert arrived, tiramisu to share. They ate and talked and laughed. Michael told stories about his kids. David shared memories of Vanessa as a little girl, always covered in paint. Linda insisted everyone needed to come over for dinner next week. It felt like family. When dinner finally ended and they were saying goodbye in the parking lot, Linda hugged Michael tightly. "Take care of my daughter," she whispered in his ear. "I will," Michael promised. "I swear I will." David shook Michael's hand firmly. "You're a good man, Michael. Don't make me regret saying that." "I won't, sir." They drove Vanessa's parents to their car, then sat in comfortable silence as they headed back to Vanessa's apartment. "Well," Vanessa said finally, "that went better than expected." "Your dad is terrifying," Michael said. "He likes you," Vanessa assured him. "If he didn't, you'd know." "How?" "He'd have asked much harder questions," Vanessa said. "Like about your credit score and retirement plans and whether you floss regularly." Michael laughed. "Does he really ask those things?" "He asked David," Vanessa said. "Poor guy. My ex-boyfriend. Dad grilled him for 2 hours about financial stability and life insurance." "I would have answered those questions," Michael said. "I know," Vanessa said softly. "That's why Dad likes you. You would have answered anything he asked. Honestly." They pulled up to Vanessa's apartment. Michael walked her to her door, neither of them quite ready to say goodnight. "What you said at dinner," Vanessa said quietly, "about answering the question. Did you mean it?" "Every word," Michael said. "So you finally forgave yourself?" Vanessa asked, "for being 17 and scared?" Michael thought about it. "I'm trying. Every day, I'm trying. It's not easy. But you help." "Good," Vanessa said. "Because you were right. That boy needed to chase his dreams. And this man needed to learn that dreams are better when they're shared." She pulled him close and kissed him, slow and deep and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, Michael rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too," Vanessa whispered back. "Always have, always will." "Even when I'm fidgeting during dinner?" "Especially then," Vanessa said, smiling. "It reminds me you're human, not a legend. Just Michael." "Just Michael," he repeated. "I like being just Michael." "Me too," Vanessa said. They stood there on her doorstep, holding each other under the stars, and Michael realized something profound. For 30 years, he'd carried the weight of one impossible question. But the answer had been there all along. The answer was forgiveness, growth, second chances. The answer was standing in front of him, paint-stained fingers and silver-streaked hair, and a heart big enough to love him through everything. The answer was choosing love. Every single day. Over and over again. That was the real championship, the real victory. And Michael Jordan, who'd won 6 NBA championships, who'd been named the greatest basketball player of all time, who'd achieved everything the world said mattered, finally understood what actually mattered most. Love, connection, being fully known and fully loved anyway. Everything else was just noise. "Good night, Vanessa," Michael said softly. "Good night, Michael," she replied. "See you Thursday?" "Thursday," he confirmed, "and every Thursday after that." "Promise." "Promise," Michael said. "I'm not going anywhere. Not this time." And he meant it with every fiber of his being, because some promises are meant to be kept, some questions are meant to be answered, and some love stories are meant to have second chances. So that's the incredible story of Michael Jordan and Vanessa, a reminder that it's never too late to face your past, forgive yourself, and choose love. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Let's spread kindness and inspire more people with stories that matter. And don't go anywhere yet. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another amazing story you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and remember, some stories deserve second chapters.